There's that story. Let's take a few more questions. In fact, let me just ask the great folks here. When do you think I should wrap it up and start signing? Keep going. Keep going, okay. Go ahead.
Quick question. Can you expand on the whole net neutrality issue right now? Because that's pretty topical. That's something that's going to...
The AT&T marathon's coming up.
Yeah, it's pretty serious.
Hey, you sound really smart. What are you talking about? No, I'm serious. Hey, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, it's net neutrality basically means corporate ownership of the internet in the United States. And net neutrality, I didn't expect to have a speech myself here. I'll tell you what I can. Net neutrality means that the Congress is about to vote to allow corporate ownership of the internet here in the United States, which means basically our last place that we can have free speech because...
Yeah, are they going to let me, with my rinky-dinky website with 2 people working on it, be bigger than Dallas Morning News? What are these roads, these toll roads? They take our existing roads. I had a Nobel Prize winner on, former Chief of Congress World Bank Friday. He said, yeah, they take the roads and give them to private groups. Okay, it's the same thing with the internet. The internet is roads. And they're just giving them the roads, or to be more precise, they're not going to rebuild our roads that we paid for. Not with government money, but with our bandwidth and the companies and the purchases. And this whole network, they're going to hijack the existing network, shut down large portions of it, not have corporations let data travel between each other, major hubs, and make you go on the internet too, where you have no free speech, where you and listen, they brag about this. They had the Internet 2 meeting here 2 years ago. They had one in England. You can go read where they say the internet's dead, ha ha ha. Basically, we built the internet by using it and by proliferating it, by building the web pages, and then they just hijack it and take it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's really close. I mean, it's another thing you can Google, and it's top on the results page.
Well, you say it's close. I mean, give me your perspective.
Oh, it's happening right now. It's already been voted on in Congress, and it's in the works. I mean, you have a very small percentage of senators that are even talking about it. I think one of the senators was stood up and talked about it for like 10 minutes, and they basically gave this such little press.
Well, China 3 weeks ago went to Internet 2. Now, they could still get on the old Internet, but they said now it's this new Internet system, and it's closed, and it's within these institutions, and you've got to sign in with a number when you get on it. Again, we're beating their butts, and so they're panicking. Kevin Smith radio produces for me, and I told him to set up another guest. I had this woman on whose son got the gun held to his head, and this was in the newspaper. But Kevin just told me it's something I didn't hear after I left the office today. We got another one of the parents who talked to the principal who says this is great. Tell people about it.
Yeah, if you saw the story yesterday, her name was Marge Bradshaw. We had her on, but today Diana Silva called up. She was the other parent referenced in the article. Turns out the principal of that school is ex-military. He's a colonel. He thinks it's all great. These 2 ladies are so mad, and, watch out when you piss off a woman. They stay mad. They don't forget. They're going to start a parents' organization in that little town, and they're going to come against this. And the reason I bring up the military part, look all over, look all around. Who's coming in to run for these sheriff offices? Ex-DEA, ex-FBI, funded with a ton of money. Look at the cover of Texas Monthly right now. Robert Gates on the cover, the savior of Texas A&M, ex-head of the CIA. But anyway, you can make a difference. You can have an effect. These 2 women are going to start a group, and we're going to check back in with them from time to time. And I guarantee you, because of that show yesterday, other groups are going to start in other towns, and you can have effect. You can cause change. And just look them in the eye.
But tell him what he said. Tell him what he said.
Oh, he thinks it's fine that they need to be used to this because of the terrorism. They need to be familiar with these drills and raids. And think about the bottom line. The bottom line is if there's a guy in the school with a gun, they're going to lock the door and keep your kids in there with them. So that's all I got. I'll see you back on this. They're here to see you.
No, but that's the thing. Listen, that's trauma-based mind control. That's terrorism. To just run into a room, put guns to kids' heads, and say it's a drill. And in Fort Worth, they blew a cop's head off during a drill. In Michigan, a cop shot himself in the foot during a drill. In another town, the cop shot one of the kids. In drills, they put guns and scream at your children. I mean, this is how warped their minds are. They think it's normal to terrorize your children. And I mean, I'm just off on this subject right now because I'm so mad about it, but it's part of the mind control. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering what your take was on, well, obviously we know what you think about electronic voting and how the flaws in that counting, how that can be compromised. What about pre-electronic tallying? What about paper fraud? Because that's nothing new. There's no aura of security around
Infallibility
paper
about
ballot.
paper.
Yes, for instance, ballot box 13, which is how
LBJ
won his election. I was wondering if you could tell me more about that. I've only heard word of mouth, and I want to hear something. I want to hear something substantial about that because I only get blips here and there. It's very hard to.
Well, you can go pull it up. I mean, it's been written about extensively. It was one of those South Texas towns. The name escapes me. And the guys all posed. The sheriff's department with a box 13. Yeah, Duval County. And they stuffed it. Well, sir, you remember the story when it comes tell it? Oh, there you are. Well, no, because I forget the whole story. I mean, I've read about it years ago. But Kevin knows the whole story.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into it. One more question.
Come
Are there
tell
any
them.
other major examples you can tell me, or anything more recent? That
Yeah,
you
Jack
were-
Kennedy. Jack Kennedy stole Chicago. Mayor Daley, yeah, the Daley machine.
There's still a Daley there.
Yeah, there's the new one, the new Bob Boss. No, paper can be stolen, but then you've got a record, and paper makes it really hard. It would take millions of people to steal a federal election with paper. You could steal it here, you could steal it there. There's a separation of powers. There'll be different factions in different areas. The Democrats will run in one area, so they'll kind of steal it there. Republicans will steal it here. And in a way, that's kind of democratic because you really do have Democrats and Republicans. It's more divided. That divided system, that separation of powers. You get 3 or 4 big voting companies that have most control of the country. Same people on the boards. All these former CIA directors and NSA directors and Defense Intelligence directors. They've got their people all over the place. And you allow them to have it where it's wireless, where there's no paper record. It just makes it so much easier. So we always had election fraud and problems. But it was never to this magnitude. That's the problem. Now, let's take a few more questions. This is great seeing everybody here.
Yeah.
What about the sheriff's department? I've heard that's the place to start if you want to get control of something. That's the place to start.
Well, sure, everybody's seen the westerns with the sheriff, and he's got his posse, and that's the citizens. The first police department was set up, in the 1860s in New York City. And they chose the Prussian blue of imperial enforcers. There were no police, municipal police, hired private security guards. Okay, the county was always the power because it was constitutional, it was in the system. The people had control of it. Cities were private entities chartered by the county via the state. Okay? And so they had a big gang problem in New York, and the sheriff's department couldn't handle it. The constables couldn't handle it, so they created the first police department made up of the gang members of one gang. If you want the tough guys. And we all hear the stories of sheriffs going wrong. But we have cities eating counties. We have, and that's backwards. What we have happening is cities are getting rid of sheriffs, or they're absorbing sheriffs, or making it an appointed position. No. We elect the sheriff, and the power of the sheriff is very important. And the sheriff constitutionally can keep the feds out of their county. The sheriff can go out and arrest local officials, authorities. I thought they were public servants. And so the power of the sheriff is very important. And we get 60%. Here's another voting question. We get 60% turnout on average nationally, or it's more like 57%, for a presidential election. Why do we have an 8% locally? That's where the real power is. Sheriffs, county commissioners, city councilmen and women. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you talk a lot about people taking personal action, and so, obviously most people that are here in the room are pretty aware of what's going on. They see the police state, coming into existence and the tyranny. And for me, sometimes I get pretty discouraged because, I spend a fair amount of time talking to people. But what I think would be interesting right now is for you to do like a little informal survey here of have people raise their hands and ask them like, how many of you out here are actually going about and giving CDs to people and talking to people and taking an active stance in it? But that's something I'd really like to know because I think it would encourage me.